না না, আলাদা আলাদা রেটে দেওয়া আছে, দুটো দেওয়া আছে। হ্যাঁ দুটোই তো, ওটা দুটোই লোড সেম হয় একসাথে, মানে 120 জন হয়ে যাবে মানে স্যারও থাকবে একজন, একজন স্যারই তো আছে। হ্যাঁ করে নেবে, যা পারে করুক। মানে লোক হায়ার করবে না, একটা লোককে নিয়ে মানে সে কুমির ছানার মতো, তাকে সব জায়গায় দেখাবে এরকম তুলে। না অ্যামিটিতে যেমন কাজ করা স্যালারি দেয় ওরকম। হ্যাঁ অ্যামিটিতে এখানকার একজন গেছে, কল্যাণ চ্যাটার্জি, জানি ভালোই দেয় সে। ইভেন হেরিটেজেও এর থেকে অনেক বেটার স্ট্রাকচার। মোটামুটি, মোটামুটি। এবার স্কেল তো, এবার স্টেটের সেন্ট্রালের স্কেল তো আলাদা, কিন্তু মোটামুটি স্কেলেই দেয়। মানে সবচেয়ে ভালো দেয় হচ্ছে অ্যামিটি, কলকাতা অত ভালো না, অ্যামিটি নয়ডাটাতে একদম আইআইটি স্কেলে দেয়, চরম। অ্যামিটি একটা দুবাইতে আছে, সেটা আরো চরম আরো। হ্যাঁ অ্যামিটিতে, কলকাতা খুব স্ট্রিক্ট, মানে ওই ওদের একটা কার্ড আছে, কার্ড সোয়াইপ করে বেরোতে হয়, এবার কতদিন মানে ওই কার্ড সোয়াইপ করে ক্যাম্পাসের বাইরে কতবার বেরোচ্ছে ঢুকছে ওটা কাউন্ট করে। এবার এরাও করবে কিন্তু পয়সা না দিয়ে কাজ করাবে। ছুটি কিরকম হচ্ছে, ইয়েল 15 দিন আগে তা বলে, 1 মাস আগে তা বলে, 1 বছর আগে ইয়েল অ্যাপ্লাই করতাম। তো বলেই দেবে ছুটি ফুটি দেবো না আমি, সেটা বললেই তো ঝামেলা চুকে যায়। Okay. Okay. Good morning, all. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Good morning, sir. Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Subro. So in the last class, just I have discussed. So I couldn't take Tuesday's class. That's why I'm taking today's class, although it is not my scheduled class. So in the last class, actually, I discussed how we can define a complex valued function, and what is the difference between a complex valued function from a function of one real variable and function of two real variable. After that, I have discussed the geometrical significance of function of complex variable. Say and also I have discussed there are two types of complex valued function. One is complex valued complex function, and one is real valued complex function. And we know that the function of one real variable represents a curve in general. The function of two real variable represents a surface. Similarly, the function of complex variable actually transforms a two-dimensional geometrical figure from one eigenplane, that is the independent z eigenplane, to w eigenplane. So these are all geometrical significances of function of complex variable. After that, I have discussed what do you mean by the single valued complex function and what do you mean by the multi-valued complex function, and I have discussed their graph with the help of MATLAB, how you can draw the graph I have shown in the last class. So today I am going to discuss how we can calculate or how we can check the existence of a limit for a complex valued function and how we can check it. So like the previous things also, whenever I am going to discuss the limit of a complex valued function, I will be discussing it by comparing it with your previous knowledge. That means in class 11 you have studied how to find out the limit of function of one real variable, and in the first semester you have studied how to find out the limit for a multivariable function. Okay. So I'll be discussing these things in comparing with all this previous knowledge that you have, so that you can understand it very easily. Okay, so let me share my screen first. Can you see the blank screen? Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Limit of a complex valued function. So before that, just I want to ask you a few questions about the limit. So what is the significance of limit? So first we'll start with function of one real variable. Let's say y equals to fx. This is called as a function of one real variable because the number of independent variable is here 1 and number of dependent variable is also 1. So this is function of one real variable. So in class 11 you have studied how to evaluate the limit. So before studying what are the different Before studying what are the different properties of limit and how we can evaluate the limit, we need to know what is the significance of limit. So first, just I want to ask you a question. In 11, you have studied how to find out the limit or how to evaluate the limit by different rules, and you have used this in for your JE exam as well as for the board exams also. So just I want to ask you a question. So what is the significance of limit? Why do you check limit for a function? Can anyone tell me? What is the necessity of finding out the limit? Anyone? It's a very simple question. You must have studied this in class 11. Anyone among you? How do you find the limit? What is the significance of finding out the limit? Say a function is given. So if y equals to fx, a function is given, we find the limit at a point say x equals to x0 for the function fx, and this is denoted as limit x tends to x0 fx, and we check whether this limit exists or not. So my question is, why do we check the limit for a function? Have you got my question?
To check the convergence or divergence of the function.
Check the
Convergence or divergence.
convergence of a function means, what do you mean by
Mean,
convergence of a function?
So examine the
Examine the
tendency of function, sir.
tendency.
Tendency of given function, sir. Like,
Tendency.
uh,
What do you mean by
yes,
tendency?
sir. Like a differentiate, continuity, differentiability,
So by
and so on.
using limit, we can actually check the existence of continuity and differentiability. But first, there comes the differentiability. Sorry, limit. So why do you find the limit first? After that, there is a scope
To
of
see whether
continuity.
the function approaches the value, something like that. To
So,
see whether the value, like whether the function which we are assigning the limit to approaches that value or not.
so what is the significance? If I check that the value function approaches to a particular value at a given point, then what is its significance? Why we are doing so? Did you ask this question in your school days? Whenever you are studying limit, so whatever you are studying, there is cause or reason behind everything. So you might have heard it or you may not have heard it. Similarly, if you ask me a question, I may not know the answer, but there is a reason behind everything we are doing. So did you ask this question in your to your school teacher? And why do we check limit? Why we are doing so?
Sir, because from that limit, if the function is exist or not, to check that.
Yeah, this is partially correct, but not accurate actually. Okay,
to
just
find the continuity of the function.
no, these are the uses, these are the applications. By using the limit, we can check the continuity, differentiability, but this is not. So, if, say for example, you are studying in engineering, but this is not actually who you are actually. This is your identity that you are studying engineering in IEM. This is your identity, but you are you are someone who is not actually attached to that. This is your identity, but this is not your not you actually. If someone asks you who are you, then you are not a student of IEM only. You might have some characteristics, your existence uh, might be different thing. Okay, okay, just let me answer this. Okay. So while we are defining this function, so let's say y equals to fx, then you know that if we define a function, then there should have a domain. Say this is a set A, this is a set B, and f is a mapping that should be or function that should be defined from A to B. So A is called domain and B is called codomain. Okay, so while we are defining the function, then the function should provide the functional value corresponding to each and every point that the domain has. That means, say in the domain, say finite number of terms are there, say 100 terms, then function should assign some particular value to each of the 100 values. That means if there are infinite number of terms, then function should be defined at each and every value. If it is not defined, then this is not a function, because whenever we are defining this function, then function must provide some functional value corresponding to each and every point that the domain has. Is that clear or not? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So while we are defining
Sir,
this function,
repeat again, sir.
sorry.
Sir, repeat again. I have not
So
understand, sir.
whenever we are defining this function, let's say this is set A, and these three elements are there, 1 2 3, and this is the set B, say 4 5 is there. And so I'm giving three examples. Let's. So function means function will assign some value corresponding to the values of the domain. Let's say so. Just tell me out of these three examples here, this is a function because this is assigning some value with the values of domain. So out of these three, which one is function and which are not? Just tell me.
Sir, first one, sir.
First one is a function, and second, third. It's a very simple question. The basic of class 11. Whenever you have started studying function, you should know this. The second one, is this a function or not?
So in the case of second one, f1 equal to 4 and as well as f1 equal to 5.
So, what is the
So,
conclusion?
no unique value of f1.
Yeah.
So
So the
that is
whenever we are defining this function, so the first criteria is that each and every value of domain should have a unique image. That means one should be mapped to a particular thing. So here one is mapped to 4, one is mapped to 5. So at a particular time, at a fixed time, one value cannot be assigned to two different values. So that's why this is not a function. And the third one,
so in case of third one, the value of f2 is not given
Yeah.
in the image. There is no image of f2.
exactly. So here this is not a function because 2 doesn't have a value. So while we are defining this function, each and every value of domain must possess a unique image, as well as each and every value of domain must have a definition. So here 2 doesn't have a definition. That's why it is not a function. So while we are defining a function, so each and every value of domain should be mapped. Is that clear or not? Is that now clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's say I am defining a function fx equals to x square. So here f is defined from set of real number to set of real number. Now if I put x, so what is domain here? Domain is the real number, set of real number, codomain is the set of real number. So here x will be coming from this domain. So if you take any real number, you will be getting a functional values 1, 2, 3, 4, any value, root 2, 1 by root 2, any value. Any real number if you take here as x, you will be getting the value of x square. So here this is a function because each and every value of the domain is mapped to some particular value of codomain. Now if I define a function from R to R, then fx x square minus 4 by x minus 2. This is a very important function you have studied while you have started studying a limit. So this is defined as 1 by x. So are they functions if the domain is set of real numbers? Are they functions or not? Hmm? Whatever is
Yes, sir.
coming from it. Yeah,
Function.
but if I define this as a domain, this is not a function because here, as per the definition of function, the function must possess value corresponding to each and every value in the domain. But here if I take x equals to 2, so 2 belongs to the set of real number, so 2 is here in the domain, but at 2 this is not defined. Is that clear? So while we are defining this function, the function must have some exact value corresponding to each and every value of the domain, but here for 2 it is not defined. Similarly here for x equals to 0 it is not defined. So initially if I consider this as a domain, so it seems that they are not functions. Okay, but it will be a function, but it will not be a function if the domain is unaltered. Why? Because whenever we are actually putting the values of x, I should get the value of the function, but at 2 it is not possible. So whenever exact value of a function for a given point is not, we can't evaluate, then we need to take the limit at that point to find out the approximated value. So this is the main reason of limit. Limiting value means the approximated value. That means here at x equals to 2, we can't evaluate the exact value of the function because the function is undefined if I put here x equals to 2. So at x equals to 2, we'll try to find out the limit in order to get the approximated value of the function. So limit means limiting value at a point means the approximating value, the approx value of the function at the point. Okay, so at x equals to 2, since we don't get the exact value, that's why we are trying to find out the limit. So there are two possibilities: limit may exist or limit may not exist. So if limit exists, then it is possible for us to find out the approximated value of the function at that given point, and if limit doesn't exist, it is not possible for us to find out the approximated value of that at that point. So if limiting value exists, then we can consider the domain as unaltered, but if the limiting value doesn't exist as well as function doesn't have a exact value at the given point, then either this will not be a function or we need to rectify the domain. That means here from the domain, if I exclude 2, it will be a function because Apart from 2, at all other real numbers, the function is defined. Similarly here, if I consider the domain as this, then it will be a function. So while we are defining this function, either the exact value at each and every point in the domain must exist, or if some points are there where the exact value doesn't exist, we need to find out the limiting value. If limiting value exists, then we are done. We can consider that as a domain. But if the exact value as well as limiting value both do not exist, then we need to actually exclude that point from the domain. Otherwise, this will not be a valid function. Is that clear now? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So that is the main reason. Is it clear to all of you? If you have any doubts till now, you can ask me.
It's clear.
Okay. Now then, before actually going towards the different rules, you know there are lots of rules to evaluate the limit, but before that we need to check the existence. How we can check the existence? Let us consider this as a function, x square by 4 by x minus 2. So roughly, let's say this is the graph of the function. So at x equals to 2, this is not defined. So here, since two variables are there, y equals to this, so one dependent variable we can consider as y axis, independent variable we can consider as x axis. So we can actually incorporate all the values of the function in a two-dimensional real plane. Okay. Now let's say at x equals to 2, the function is not defined. That means at all other points, if I draw the perpendicular, this length will be the functional value, this length will be the functional value. But here the function doesn't have a value because the graph is not continuous here. That means we don't get the functional value. There is a discrete portion in the graph. So what we need to do, we need to find out the limit. Now how we can find the limit? Let's say if I consider here independent variable is 1, number of independent variable is 1. So here independent variable will exist in a straight line. So if we want to take a neighborhood, because to check the limit at a particular point we need to check the neighborhood. So if I take the neighborhood around this point, then you know that if since this is a one dimensional point, so the neighborhood can be taken in terms of interval, open interval or close interval. So let's say I am taking an open interval. Now from the nearer points, if we want to approach to this point, then how many directions are there over here? Have you got my question?
Sir, repeat again.
So here this is our point. Okay. So this is a one dimensional point because number of independent variable is 1. Now this exists in a straight line. Now we are considering a neighborhood around that point. So if we want to approach from the nearer points, so nearer point means the points on the straight line will be the nearer points. That means these points will be nearer points which are covered inside that interval. So if we want to approach towards this point from the nearer points which are over the line, and from that points we want to move towards this point, then what are the possible directions we can approach to this point from the nearer points?
Two directions.
Two directions. So either we can approach from this direction or we can approach from this direction. Similarly here also around 2 we are taking an interval. So in the right hand side, let's say we are taking this length and this length are equal length. So say the length is very small, that means we are taking a small neighborhood or small interval around that point. So this point will be 2.0001 and this will be 1.999. So this interval we are taking. So of length this twice into this, so total length of the interval is this. So we can approach either from this point, we can approach either from this point. So now what we will do, so apart from 2, at all other points the function is defined. So from the nearer points in the right hand side we will be gradually approaching towards 2. That means we will put 2.00001, 2.01, 2.011 like that. So we will be approaching from the nearer points from the right hand side towards this point. Then whatever we will be finding, let's say this value is 4, this functional value is 4. So we will be moving towards 4 from the greater values of 4 but which are nearer to 4. That means from 4.001, 4.00001. So we will be getting these values if I take the right hand values, and more we will be approaching towards 2. Here we will be finding that from the greater nearer values of 4 we will be gradually approaching towards 4. Similarly, if you put here 1.99, 1.998, 1.99998, that means more you will be coming closer towards 2 from the left hand side of 2, then you will be finding that the functional values will be gradually approaching from the lesser values of 4 towards the 4. That means, but they are very closer. That means 3.999, 3.99998 like that. So from here, what we can conclude, graphically we can conclude that we are varying the value of the independent variable in a small interval around 2, and we are finding that the functional behavior is unaltered. That means we are approaching from the right hand side of 2, that means from greater values of 2 towards 2. So functional value is approaching from the greater values of 4 towards 4, and they are very close to 4. And whenever we are approaching from the left hand side of 2 towards 2 with a lesser values than 2, then we are finding that the functional values is also moving from the lesser values of 4 but nearer to 4 towards 4. So here I can say that the approximated value of the function at 2 can be considered as 4. Is that clear or not? Have you got it? Have you got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But sir, there should be x equal to root 2 now.
Hmm?
There should be x equal to root 2 now according to the function.
Root 2.
Yes, sir. In the denominator, you have written x square minus 2.
Sorry,
Yes.
this will be x minus 2. Sorry. Hmm? Okay, have you got it? Is that clear? Is that clear or not? Have you understood this? Is it clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what will happen for 1 by x? So, after that, we actually use the formula to evaluate the limit. So, that is the main reason that the limiting value is 4. After that, we calculate this in that way. We factorize the numerator. So, we will be getting x minus 2, x plus 2. The denominator will be x minus 2. Now, x tends to 2. So, x is not equals to 2. So, numerator and denominator can be cancelled out. So now at 2 this is defined, so the functional value will be 4. So this is the rule, you know, by using this rule you can evaluate that. But main reason behind the limiting value is 4 is that. Okay, now what will happen if I consider y equals to 1 by x? Let's say at x equals to 0, here the function doesn't have an exact value. So we need to evaluate or check whether the limiting value exists or not. Now what is the locus of this? Can anyone tell me what is the locus of this?
Rectangular hyperbola.
Yeah, this will be a rectangular hyperbola. So this sort of graph you will be getting like that. So similarly here also at 0 the function is not defined, so we need to take a small interval around 0. So in the right hand side, if I take the small values, then this will be 0 0.0001, 0 0.01, like that. In the left hand side, the value will be minus 0 0.01, minus 0 0.001. So if I put it from the right hand side of 0, if I approach towards 0, then the functional value will be gradually approaching towards plus infinity. Similarly, from the left hand side of 0, if we want to move towards 0, then the functional value will be gradually approaching towards minus infinity. Because if I put 0.01, the value will be 1 by 100. If I take 0.001, this will be 1 by 1000. So more will move towards 0 from the right hand side, more the functional value will be going towards plus infinity. So here the value of independent variable we are varying in a small interval, but value of dependent variable lies in a huge interval. So that's why here the limiting value at 0 doesn't exist. Have you got it? Have you got it or not?
Yes, sir.
So now there comes the epsilon delta definition. What is the epsilon delta definition? Epsilon delta definition means say limit x tends to x0 fx equals to L. That means say this is a function, this is the x equals to x0. So we are taking the interval around x0. So this is the delta length. So this will be x0 plus delta and this will be x0 minus delta. That means x minus x0 is less than delta. That means x is varying from x0 minus delta to x0 plus delta. So this is the limiting value L. So the functional value, if limit exists, will be varying from the small interval of L plus epsilon to L minus epsilon. So this length is epsilon. That means whenever we are varying the independent variable in a small interval, the value of the dependent variable will also vary in a small interval around the limiting value, as we have discussed it earlier. So whenever this is less than delta, if fx minus L, this difference is less than epsilon, and delta and epsilon both are small and comparable, then we say that limit exists. But here you can find that we are taking delta as a 0.001, this length, but the epsilon, which is the length of functional value, actually is infinite. So they are not comparable. But in the previous case, since they are comparable, that's why the limit exists there in the previous case. Is that clear? Is that clear or not? Have you understood it?
Sir, explain again, sir. L plus E and L minus E.
Okay. So what we are doing here? So this length is 0.001. That means this is the delta length. That means around 2 we are taking interval. So delta is the length of the interval. So we are taking a small interval around delta. So the functional value is also varying in a small interval. That means the interval in which the functional value is varying is also small. That is epsilon and that is delta. So if delta is small and epsilon is small, then they are comparable. Then we say that the limit exists. That means x minus x0 is less than delta and fx minus L is less than epsilon, and they are both small and they are comparable. But in that case, we are varying the independent variable in a small interval. That means delta is small. But epsilon is actually huge because the functional value is varying in a huge interval. So that's why here the limiting value doesn't exist. Because as they are not comparable. That is small but that is huge. Is that clear? Is that clear now or not? Have you understood? If it is not clear, you can ask me. I can repeat this again.
No, sir, I have no understanding.
Is there anyone who have understood? Okay, say for example here I am taking the length of delta as 0.001. That means around 2. In the right hand side of 2 we are taking 2 plus 0.001. In the left hand side we are taking 2 minus 0.001. So if you put those values in the function, you will be finding that around 4 it is changing in that interval. So that means we are changing the independent variable, say from 2 minus 0.001 to 2 plus 0.001. So what is the value of delta? Delta is 0.001. Is that clear or not?
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay. Now if you put those values here, you will be getting that the functional value is varying from 0.001. I am just giving one example. 301 to 4 plus, 4 minus to 4 plus 0. This is just the observation. If you put the values, you will be finding that. Is that clear? So what is the epsilon? Epsilon is here. This. That means 0.301. So what is the relationship between delta and epsilon? Both are small, and delta by 10 is actually epsilon. So they are comparable. Is that clear? Is that clear or
Yes, sir.
not? So actually we can write this as 2 minus 0.001. That means 2 minus x minus 2. This mod. This is less than 0.001. If you break this, you will be getting this interval. Is that clear? Is that clear or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
Similarly,
clear, sir.
if you consider this as the L, so here fx minus 4, this will be less than 0. This one. Is that clear? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
clear? So here both epsilon and delta are small and they are comparable. So that's why here the limit will exist. But in the case of 1 by x at 0, here we are taking a small interval. That means delta is small, but epsilon is huge. That's why here limit doesn't exist, because epsilon delta both are not small and they are not comparable like the previous case. Because if you approach towards 0 from the right hand side, it is plus infinity. If you approach from the left hand side towards 0, it will be minus infinity. So in that case limit doesn't exist. না কাল কে বলছে মানে প্রতিদিন একজন করে নাম দিতে হবে মানে প্রত্যেকটা দিন যেন কভার হয় আর কি, বুঝেছো? কে কভার করবে? ম্যাথসের লোকই সবাই তো দেবে, ওরা তো চার্জ করে নেবে। এবার 30 তারিখ বিবিএম থাকবে বলছে। আচ্ছা, তো 28 তারিখ, এবার 28 তারিখটা এবার অনুভবকে দিতে পারবো না, কারণ আমাদের কালকে পরশু অলিম্পিয়াড আছে, কালকে প্রচুর কাজ আছে। এবার ও তো বাড়ি যাবে। 28 তারিখ দিতে হবে কেন বুঝলাম না, মানে 28 তারিখই ম্যাচ? হ্যাঁ, মানে 28 তারিখ কেন দিতে হবে? একটা দিন কভার করে লোক দিতে হবে, মানে ম্যাচের লোক আমাদের তো লিস্ট দিতে হবে, তারপরে চুজ করবে কি না করবে। প্রত্যেকটা দিন 28 তারিখ হবে না, কালকে তো আমার বাইকের সার্ভিসিং আছে, আগে থেকে বুক করা আছে। হ্যাঁ, কারণ আমরা সেকেন্ড ইয়ারে ক্লাস শুরু হয়েছে, তারপর এরকম করে যদি দেয় তাহলে যেতে পারবো না। কালকে তো পিকেটি নিজেই জেনে গেল, আমাদের নিয়ে গেল। হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে। Okay, is that clear? Is that clear up to this?
Yes, sir. Clear now.
So then we'll move towards the limit for function of two variable. We have studied this in the previous semester. That sorry, in the first semester, z equals to fxy. So here the number of independent variable is 2. Okay, and number of dependent variable z is 1. এই পিছানোদা নিজে আসতে পারে তো, নিজে আসতে পারে তো। হ্যাঁ, তো একে তাকে এসে বলছে আমি কেন ওডি নিতে যাবো, আমি ছুটির দিনে এসে কেন ওডি নেবো, আমার কোনো কাজ নেই খেতে, আমার সব দিনই ক্লাস আছে, ওডি না আমার, তোমার ক্লাস ম্যানেজ করতে হবে, ক্লাস নিতে হবে, তো আমার নিজের অপ্রয়োজনে আমি কেন নেবো? হ্যাঁ আমি জানি, বুঝেছি, আমি জানি তো। So here z is the dependent variable, so number of dependent variable is 1 like the previous case, but number of independent variable is 3. So we can represent this in a three-dimensional plane. So x axis, this is a y axis, this is a z axis, and in general this represents a surface. So here say at x0 y0 we need to evaluate the limit. So that means limit xy tends to x0 y0 f xy equals to L. Okay, so here let's say this is the point x0 y0. Now here also around x0 y0 I need to take an interval, I need to take a neighborhood. So you know that if the independent variable is one dimensional independent variable, then around that point I can take either one interval. That means there are two directions. But since it is a two dimensional point, so independent variable is not one dimensional, rather it is a two dimensional point. So here around this point I can take the neighborhood as a circular neighborhood, or I can take a rectangular neighborhood, or I can take a closed square neighborhood. So here, since the independent variable is a two-dimensional point, so around that point I can take either a circular neighborhood or a rectangular neighborhood. Okay. Now just tell me, here these are all nearer points. So I need to find out the values at all nearer points, because at this point the function is not defined. So at all nearer points I need to evaluate the functional values, and where it is approaching will be the limiting value if limit exists. Now here, since this is a one dimensional point, so from the nearer points either we can approach from this direction or from this direction. So we are evaluating left hand limit and right hand limit. If both exist and are equal, then we say that the function has a limit. But here infinite number of points are there. Okay, these are all points. So from these points we can't approach to this. Okay, so there are infinite number of points. So just tell me what are the directions, or how many directions are there that we can approach towards this point from the nearer points. Have you understood my question?
Infinite.
There will be infinite number of paths, because either from this point we can approach like that, from this point we can approach like that, from this point we can approach like that, from this point we can approach like that. So there are infinite number of paths we can approach towards this point from the nearer points. So here, like the previous case, in that way, if I need to check whether limit exists or not, so I need to check that limiting values are equal if I take infinite number of paths. That means by varying infinite number of paths, I can check that the limiting value exists or not. Okay, is that clear or not? But it is not possible actually, because here there are since two directions, so I am checking the left hand limit and right hand limit, and if they are equal, we say that the limit exists. But here, since infinite number of directions are there, so by checking the limiting value from infinite number of directions, it is not possible for us to check whether limit exists or not. So that's why by this method here, we can't evaluate whether limit exists or not. So here we need to use the epsilon delta definition. So if I get time, so in the later on I will be discussing it. So here the methodology that you have studied in the first semester, that is the path dependency independency method. By this method actually you can check the non-existence of limit. That means if the limit doesn't exist, you can actually recognize from this method. How you can recognize from this method? So there are infinite number of directions say. So at once we can't check whether the limiting values are same with respect to all these directions. But we can disprove if the limit doesn't exist. That means let's say infinite number of paths are there. P1, P2, there are infinite number of directions. So if I can show that I have taken two paths, Pi and Pj, they are two paths, and the limiting values are unequal with respect to this path and this path. So at once I can say that limit doesn't exist, because the limit will exist if the limiting value is same with respect to all arbitrary paths. But limiting value will not be same. This we can prove by picking up only two paths, because if the limiting values are different with respect to two paths, then at once we can say that the limit doesn't exist. Is that clear or not?
Yes, sir.
So that method you have followed in the first semester. Just I am giving one example. Say, let's say you need to check the limit xy tends to 0 0 y square. So that means towards 0 0 we are approaching from different paths. So here, without taking two arbitrary paths, I can take the family of paths as y equals to mx. What is y equals to mx? Y equals to mx is a collection of all straight lines that passes through origin. So by these straight lines, we can approach to the point 0 0 from the nearer points. So since y equals to mx is here, so y and x will not be there separately. So if I put y in terms of x, so this will be a function of x alone. So this will be limit x tends to 0 to x mx by x square plus m square x. And it will be limit x tends to 0 x square to m by x square 1 plus. So since x tends to 0, so x is not equals to 0, so you can eliminate this. So this will be 2m by 1 plus m square. So here, if I vary m, the path will be changed. If I take m equals to 1, the path will be x. If I change m equals to 2, half, path will be half x. So if I change the value of m, the limiting value will be changed. So here, since the limit is dependent on the parameter of the path, so that's why the limiting value will be path dependent. That means if I vary the path, obviously the limiting value will be different. So here at once we can say that the limit doesn't exist. So by this method that I have studied in the first semester, you can actually check the non-existence of limit. If the limit doesn't exist, you can check from this method. Was that clear?
Yes, sir.
So why we are discussing this? Because while we will study the limiting value for the function of complex variable, so complex variable means z equals to fz equals to w. So z can be written in the form of x plus iy. So there are two variables, and w can be written in the form of u plus iv. So there are also two variables. So here, since the number of independent variables are two, so in the same way we can actually check the existence or non-existence of the limit. So actually we can't check the existence of the limit, rather by this method we can check the non-existence of limit. So the next class I will be discussing how we can actually check the existence of limit for the function of complex variable and different properties. So before that, just let me check the attendance manually. Sorry, you don't have the attendance manually. So just let me give you the exam code. So this is the exam code, and this is the link. So just click the link and give your full enrollment ID and the exam code and give the test. So just someone please check and let me know whether you can access it right now or not.
No, sir, yes, we can access the exam.
Okay. Okay, thank you all for attending this class. Just finish the class test. Okay, thank you. I'm leaving.